Our South Africa Bureau Chief Betty Dibia joins us now for more. Betty, do we know what else was said at that press conference by Gabriela Engels?
Well, apart from the details of the plan by AfriForum, which Herinel represents, we got to hear from the mother of the victim, who seems quite hopeful that the First Lady of Zimbabwe will not go scot-free. She's hopeful that that will be the case, and she says it's not a matter of money. They want justice for what was done to their child. That was it basically, and the issues of timelines, and Herinel was quite careful, but we know that he said that within 3 months, if the National Prosecuting Authority doesn't do anything about this, as you heard him say, the issue of equality before the law, that they will step in. AfriForum is an Afrikaner lobby group, that they said, we know the reputation of Herinel, who was a state prosecutor, and he was quite popular during the Oscar case. So when he retired, he joined AfriForum, and he says, in 3 months, if the National Prosecuting Authority doesn't take up the case or do something, especially in a case where the immunity is not granted by DIRCO, which is still to pronounce whether indeed she's been granted diplomatic immunity, that they will be stepping in to prosecute the case.
This is a serious matter, and Mrs. Mugabe, it appears, is trying to go around it by discussing with the highest authorities. How badly could this reflect on the Mugabes and the country?
Well, the question is how much worse can it get? We know the issue with Zimbabwe. It's an economically challenged country. The president is quite old. Thousands, if not millions, of Zimbabweans they come to menial jobs in South Africa. So that's an issue. And then we've heard cases where Mrs. Mugabe has been embroiled in a number of issues, including similar cases like this, where there's alleged assault on a journalist, among others. So it's not okay for the country. And in South Africa as well, they're looking to see if indeed, if you're big and famous and prominent, you're not going to face the penalties that the regular person who commits the same offense faces. So they're watching. We've had the issue of Omar al-Bashir, who found a way. Well, it's not exactly the same case, but let's see how it goes. We're still waiting. The police says they cannot arrest her. They've given assurances that she's still in the country, but they cannot arrest her till DIRCO pronounces whether it's given her it's granting her diplomatic immunity or not. We know that the president of Zimbabwe came into the country last night. He came much earlier for this situation, but his intention initially was for the SADC summit, which for the president will start on Saturday.
The police did say they have issued a red alert at the borders, but is it possible that Mrs. Mugabe could be sneaked out of the country? A few days ago, there were contradictions about whether she was still in South Africa or not.
Anything is possible, but everybody's watching, and many are hoping that indeed she hasn't actually left the country. This incident happened on Sunday, and when she was expected at the police station, I think 2 days later, when the assault charge was laid by the young lady, she didn't pitch. Her lawyers instead came, including some Zimbabwean diplomats who came to speak on her behalf. People are hoping that it will not augur well for the government if indeed she has left the country without this being sorted out. But I know diplomatically there are negotiations going on. They've received communication from the Zimbabwean government. That's South Africa's Department of International Relations and Cooperation, called DIRCO. So they're still in talks on how to. It's a PR nightmare. It's a sticky situation. So everybody in the country is watching, and outside the country indeed, to see how it will play out.
What about the laws of the land? What do South Africa's laws say concerning this kind of situation?
In the case of assault or in the case of diplomatic immunity?
Both, ergo is,
Well, assault is an offense. If somebody lays a charge of assault, it's an offense. It's not a very high schedule offense, but it is an offense, and you can be sued for that. And in the case of diplomatic immunity, if indeed she's granted diplomatic immunity, I think that's a more general thing. The more general rule for the cases of diplomatic immunity, one, the person can be declared persona non grata, and that means you're taken out of the country, you're not allowed back in. The home government, your home government, can revoke the diplomatic immunity to allow you to be prosecuted here, or the place where you committed the offense, which in this case I doubt that will ever happen. Or the person will be prosecuted back home in the home country, which also in this case it will never happen. So let's see how it goes, but everyone is watching.
Right, thank you, Betty, for your thoughts on that. Let's move on now. Zambia's main opposition figure, Hakainde Hichilema, says that he's now more determined to rule the country following his release from prison earlier today. He says this makes him 10 times stronger, thanking supporters for standing by him during the period he was away. Hichilema and 5 others have been in jail since April for treason, a charge he denies. He was arrested because his motorcade refused to give way to that of President Edgar Lungu. He was released following pressure from the Roman Catholic Church, former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo, and the Commonwealth.
This thing has to come to an end. Yes. Because if it doesn't come to an end, I'm willing to go back to those cells. Yes. Yes. The criminal justice system has broken down in our country. Yes. Starting from law enforcement, yes, the police, total breakdown, to the prisons. Those prison cells are death chambers. People are dying in those prisons every day.
More politics on the continent. One of Angola's opposition parties has indicated willingness to form a coalition government with others after its general elections next Wednesday. The presidential candidate for the National Union for the Total Independence of Angola, UNITA, says this could only happen if the ruling MPLA party loses power for the first time. The ruling People's Movement for the Liberation of Angola has been in power since independence in 1975. With Angola in the midst of an economic crisis caused by a fall in oil prices, the opposition is hoping to grow its tally, though a lack of credible polling in the country makes the result unpredictable. UNITA has been campaigning on a broad platform for change, promising to increase spending on education and health to combat corruption and open the economy to more foreign investment. If the ruling party loses power, the coalition would be formed predominantly with Angola's second opposition party, Broad Convergence for the Salvation of Angola. Spanish Coast Guard says that it has rescued about 600 migrants crossing from Morocco in a 24-hour period amid a spike in the number of African migrant arrivals. The rescued migrants were in 15 vessels, including toy paddle boats and a jet ski. The United Nations says more than 9,000 people have arrived in Spain so far this year, 3 times as many as the previous year. Early in the month, the UN's International Organization for Migration, IOM, said the increase in crossing means Spain could overtake Greece this year in the number of African migrants arriving by sea alone. Still to come on Network Africa. An ancient Egyptian tradition makes a comeback in one laundry woman's business. That's in a moment.